All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today, taking time out of your schedules to be with us. We've got a fairly short agenda today, a lot of reports, and so hopefully we'll be cognizant of your time, your valuable time, and get you out of here as quickly as possible. But before we begin, I'd like to ask Lonnie if you would give us some introductions. I know you have an update later on in the agenda, but I guess it would be appropriate now if you'd like to introduce your new staff members.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today, and we actually have two ladies to introduce to you today. First is Megan Crane, who's our new president of our board of directors. Liz and I were glad to step down and yield the floor to someone new and younger. And this is Samantha Plosica. She is our new executive director. She was born in Jacksonville, Florida, but grew up here in Jacksonville, North Carolina, so she's very familiar with everything in the community. We're pleased to have her.
Well, welcome aboard, and I would say congratulations. I'm not sure. But again, welcome and thank you for joining us. I hope you'll find the meeting valuable. So thank you. First order of business will be the adoption of the agenda that you have before you. We have previously emailed this to you as normal. If there's no errors or omissions or anything you'd like to correct, we'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That include the agenda and the minutes?
Yes. Combined. Moving on to strategic work. I guess Samantha, you'll be presenting for Zoom. Okay. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here today. So just to kind of back up a little bit, so we did officially open November 30th of last year, opening 3 days a week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We were all volunteer-based, being run by the board mostly, and a few volunteers who popped in and out. In June, we opened to 4 days a week, and then July, we went to 5 days a week, Wednesday through Sunday. And at this time, we also started hiring staff, so we now have 3 full-time and 2 part-time staff members, including myself. So as of September 22nd, I pulled our numbers, we've served 15,000 visitors. And that's through general admission, field trips, and birthday parties. And those, we've been keeping track of where these people are coming from. So we've seen visitors from 18 counties in North Carolina and then 21 states. So these were either people that were already visiting here, a lot of grandparents visiting family members who are stationed here. We try to engage in conversation whenever they come through the door. You know, what are you doing here? Just ask some information about themselves. So we're collecting that manually, and then I had the staff kind of compile a list for me. So our marketing that we've done so far has been mostly social media, so Facebook, Instagram, that way. And then we did obtain 3 billboards, Highway 17 in Hampstead, Highway 24 in Hubert, and then we had one on 258, which we've moved that one to the digital billboard at Yop. So we have that double-sided digital that just started, I think, last week, that we will be using to rotate, but to show all of our events that are coming up. And we've had a lot of feedback off our billboards. That's how I had a field trip scheduled the other day. So we know the billboards are working and they're doing really well and they're very cute. So if you haven't seen them, drive those ways. Lamar has done a great job with making those for us. Let's see, so far we've done 25 field trips and have 8 scheduled for this fall. That's Onslow County. We've had some homeschool groups that have scheduled, and then I also had a Carteret County group come this week. So we're reaching out further than just Onslow County, which is really great. We also tonight are having an educators open house to bring those people back in to see how we can expand upon our the educational value of our field trips. So the kids not just coming in and playing, but building off of their curriculum and making sure that when they leave they had a better grasp of something that they're studying in school. So we have a kindergarten field trip coming in. They're studying community helpers. So we're going to talk about doctors and nurses. They're going to make a little doctor's kit. It's very cute. So just trying to figure out how we can better serve the families and kids in our community, and also working with some social workers from DSS, Peers, Partnership for Children, and just making our museum more accessible to more people in our community. Let's see, and so some exciting things about our development. We've got a grant from Keno, who is working with Megan on board development, and then I was accepted into their Executive Directors Academy, which meets once a month on the UNCW campus. So we're doing some professional development on both sides of the board, which I think is really exciting. And then last, November 9th is we're doing our 1-year birthday bash. So we would like to invite all of you out on November 9th to come tour the museum. We're just doing a huge birthday party with games, vendors. I think we're gonna have a touch-it truck and of course cake. So you're all welcome and we're very excited. So I think
Great
that's it.
news. A lot of activity.
Yes, lots
That's
going
awesome.
on. So our Facebook, we have tons of events planned for the rest of the year. So I invite you all to check them out. If you have any little ones, please bring them by.
Absolutely, thank you. Any questions or any comments?
How many are usually average a field trip? So that can be from what, 3 to
We-
30 or what?
So we schedule these closed kind of group rates we require 20 people.
Okay.
But I had a Carteret County special needs group come, and there were only 10 of them. But I brought them in on a day that we were closed so that they would have, some of their kids wouldn't get overwhelmed by the other visitors. And we try to schedule those on Mondays and Tuesdays when we're closed to the public.
Is there a set amount of time or is it flexible?
Usually 2 hours.
Oh, they get 2 hours?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep, and we're very flexible about when they get here and who comes. I mean, we've had a group of, over 100 students, and they come with their educators and chaperones. So we've kind of seen it all, from very small to very big. So,
That's good.
What kind of reaction do you get from people who come from outside the area?
we hear nothing but wonderful things. And one of my the best one that I've heard so far is we had a lady who works with, she works out of Raleigh, and she's done a lot of work with marbles, who is like one of our favorite go-to when we look towards the future. But she made the comment that, yes, marbles has the shock and awe that everyone loves, but our space provides something a little bit more as far as engagement and being a place where parents can come and learn to interact. And they just liked that it had a smaller feel, it was quieter, and that the kids had to actually engage and play more than just pressing buttons and all the electronic stuff. So we're very surprised and pleased at how many people really compare us to some other museums and say that they prefer coming here.
That's fantastic. That's great.
Well, I know you guys have far superseded your expectations.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yes, we're growing at a booming rate.
100 is a large number. Is there a cap to what you can do for us?
Our building, our fire code, I think is like 315. So I would assume that would be the most that we could have. We require 1 chaperone per every 5 kids. So as long as they have enough chaperones, we don't mind serving those kids. Because if you've been in the building, it's kind of set up into 3 large rooms. So what we've kind of done in the past is broken those groups up into 3 and then have them rotate so that they get to see a little bit of everything.
What's the age range?
We say about 0 to 10, but it just kind of depends on how interested those older kids are in play still. And we have some new, we have the 2 new exhibits open this summer, the Space Lab and the Weather Station. But we'll have the plasma ball. It's being installed here in a couple weeks, so we'll have a little bit more of the science engagement that the older kids like. So we're trying to kind of expand on that.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for such a great report.
Thank you. Thank
Keep
you for
up
having
the
me.
good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next order of business is item number 6. So we'll ask Glenn to go over the impact of visitor spending and
We sent this items to you back when it came out during
Yeah.
the summer. And obviously, the Daily News had a story on this on Monday on the matter there. But we wanted you to just kind of see, what our talk points are with Laurette and Donna particularly, and Anne Marie Bass. We put together a joint release that we did, and the Mayor Pro Tem contributed to that. And again, these are the numbers, but it's when people ask you what tourism brings to the community as it is, these are the numbers that we think you ought to remember as it is there. Obviously, for Onslow County, $249 million in direct visitor spending. I do need to say that I didn't leave out, this does not come from just some vapor. They actually hire a firm, U.S. Travel Association, and they have evaluated since 2012, and we gave you the numbers in your packet all the way back. They evaluate those numbers and build this project so that they have something to work from the previous year. And they use some acceptable methods of reviewing this, and I'm not going to pretend to understand all the nuances of it, but it looks at occupancy through Smith Travel, it looks at occupancy tax, it looks at revenues, it looks at how many people give their industry codes as tourism. They report that to the Bureau of Economic Analysis and such things as that. Can you think of any other factors that are in it?
Quite enough.
Okay. Laura has dealt with this much longer than I on that matter. But nonetheless, as you can see that, so that 249 translates, that's direct spending within our county as it was. And what got the headline, obviously, was that Onslow had the greatest increase from the previous 2017 to 2018 than any other place that it was in the state. Now, in direct payroll, 49 million. Again, that's identified under those census and those industry codes. And of course, estimated about 1,880 jobs within the city, within Onslow County as it was there. And then in local taxes, 9.48 million. That's sales tax, occupancy tax, and the other things that get paid as a result of that type of stuff. And of course, the state got $12.98 million of the funds that came in. And if you were to have to generate this type of money, it would have cost Onslow County each household, it would have cost them $111 in the taxes that they would pay on their property. So that's where that comes from as it was. So we just want to do that brief overview. You see that. We also gave you a link where if you wanted to read that detailed analysis of how they came up with it, you can do that too.
Thank you, Glenn. I think it's also important to note that these numbers are prior to the impact from the storm.
Well, actually, it does include some of it. It's the calendar year.
But a small portion of it. And the reason I say that is because when you're trying to analyze what the true impact was it just related to the storm? Because we all know that the storm brought in a lot of adjusters and reconstruction and that sort of thing. So we certainly did see some impact from that. But when you look at the data and statistics, a lot of this percentage, you can quantify it to 6.5% or 7% was due to just mere increase. And hopefully the work that we're all doing together to bring people to our community and keep them here for a couple extra days is actually working. So the pressure is on you guys to obviously continue that. But again, I think it's good data and good work. So. Any questions?
So this is September. Is this about the time of year we find out about last year's? Is that kind of normal?
Well, it was actually released in
It's normally August.
Is when it was released. Yes, we just remember we met in July.
Right.
So we didn't have, it came out after that. And we hadn't met since then, so we wanted to give you this.
I was curious if that was a topic. Takes that long to percolate through.
I would, those little people with the green eye shades. But you can, you go to Visit NC and /partners, and you can see all the backup for all the years and things such as that. And it's very publicly available and stuff.
Glenn, are you going to do item number 7?
I am, and this will be a quick one. Obviously, council members Thomas and Lazaro have seen part of this before, but we wanted to show everyone what we had shown to the council about our what's happening with our strategic initiative. This picture makes some of us very happy here because we really got some great people that were part of the advice and counsel that helped us when they turned. This was a real turning point and really part of what it was that we are really coming to with our strategic strategy that we've developed. And they came up with the things that you see there. The other part is what our vision is now that we've seen. And of course, it was to make sure that we're focusing on telling our story on the military community, that we focus on that assets that are outdoors, environmental education, sports, and do things such as that. That you folks wanted an emphasis on arts and music this year as it was. And toward the end of the impact, obviously anything that we talk about impact has to talk about in the past year with the Florence and the deer swimming down Court Street. But that's what we adapted and started talking about fall fishing in the new river and doing things such as that. And we've seen, we don't know a river guide that hasn't done well this past year from the work on the river. And it's impressive. It was even difficult getting the boats to charter to do these little photo things because they're so busy taking people out on the water for this type of work as it was. The story of the new river, which we did in advance of the opening of Sturgeon City, and we also renewed that this year in the advance of the New River Splash, we find that story resonates and it can be retold by others. And the opening of that center helps to keep that going and to tell that story over and over again. The Montford Point search, telling the story that they're still looking for family members that have not been rewarded for the service of their family member during that time of segregation. That story resonates and people are very interested in helping us on that. Bringing in people to tell the stories has been the best power for us. It's the best bang for the money we have seen in many different ways as it is there. They keep doing it. We had one group that was starting to put some stories out before Dorian, and we actually had to claw them back a little bit and say, hold just for a little bit and let us get past Dorian. But it is amazing how they will gut these stories and release them over and over and over again. And that has been very fascinating. So just what had been compiled for the time of the council meeting was 83,000 people got touched by these stories that we had done just from this one group that we brought in. And obviously, Donna and Laurette and her staff were very much involved in that type of thing. We did change from Bargain Beach to Value Beach. Obviously, our hoteliers have been able to keep their rates at a level that is benefiting to them, and we like that. And so consequently, and obviously, the Zing Zoom Children's Museum, we're seeing that have an impact, and we're seeing that it is extending the stay of people, and we're hearing some testimony of that as they did on the matter there. We're always fascinated to hear more of their contemporaneously gathered stories when people come to your facility as to what got them there and what kept them there. And then this was a blogger who came to town that travels with his young children. And that was a perspective of traveling with children and how we are able to accommodate that. Very positive things. That's NC Tripping. He goes all over North Carolina and does these type of stories. Wide base of support. And of course, as we have said, the way that we're implementing this, the way that we're pushing this out is through these influencer tours. We're doing that very much as it was there. We're displaying a brand. We're using our website as their hub where they can get more information. We are working on databasing some of the items that we have and deepening our partnerships that we have with other organizations that can help us with this regard. We did find our partnerships work. I mean, clearly Onslow and Laurette's staff, we work seamlessly together on this matter. We view the area as a whole now more so than we were myopic at the beginning of this. Outdoor adventures, it works. And the Bayonet here with the Bayonet cruises, it's amazing the number of people who want to get on that boat and go somewhere as it is. So that's always a positive thing as it was. So there we go. And so we're going to also work the initiatives and keep that going as we go. And we're going to build on some holidays. We talked about on the some of the things that we did with the influencers about using some of the first that are out here. And the first of that, what Camp Lejeune's role was in D-Day. Many people had never heard that story. The Memorial Day visitation, the impact of Vietnam veterans to this community as a whole. And we're also seeing, whereas the fishing and Grand Prix series and the visit and see missions and outdoors, all those things we're advancing toward this as it is. And we want to use this time while we weren't having to work so hard to fill the hotels to build these events and the brand and to improve our website and partnerships and to go forward with that. And some of you will remember back in June when we were getting ready for the opening of the Stern City site, we had Susan here in town and we had Teresa and we, of course, Kim and others were much involved in a conversation with them, Donna Hammonds and the crowd. It was a nice time to reevaluate and lay out our planning for the year. That's what Susan has a very unique way of planning. So you see all the little cards and they hope for no big wins while they do this in the room. So they have it laid out and it's ready to go. And among the things we're going to talk about today are some of those projects that grew out of that and our fall campaign of our fall colors of red, white, and blue, owing to our military and our patriotism that's on display here, the way in which we treat those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation in this matter. And so we want to talk one about today is the Veterans Day weekend celebration. And Kim Tillman has been part of that. And I'll just jump over this to just show you these are some of the scheduled things that are come up. But I'm going to let Kim talk now about the Veterans Day weekend tribute.
All right, so we do want to stress this is a first-time event. Things are still evolving, and we're kind of using this first event to test the waters to see how mostly locals will view this type of event taking place across the weekend in Jacksonville on Veterans Day weekend. And right now what we have planned is a kickoff concert with WRNS and Bob 93.3. They're working to bring in an act, and that will be held at the Tar Heel Concert Lounge. And then that'll be a Friday night event. And then that Saturday, everybody will go to Western Boulevard for the annual Veterans Day Parade. And this year, the Shriners will have, I think it's about 500 people they're bringing in for their parade, and it will follow the Veterans Day Parade, so it'll look like one big parade that Saturday. After the parade, folks can go to the gardens for a guided tour, and then we're gonna have our own kind of touch-a-truck event at the Commons, and we're looking for other family-type elements to include there. And we're looking for a car, Humvee, Jeep show, and hoping to get some veterans there to judge. We're looking for a presentation by Museum of the Marine, and then we're gonna reach back out to the USO to see if we can partner with them for their Saturday breakfast, to see if they can handle a larger group than what they're used to. And so we're hoping to begin promotions soon. Visit and See actually saw our calendar event that we had on our website, and they reached out to Susan Dozier for more information. They're interested in featuring us in a larger story that they're going to put together for Veterans Day events. And again, we're hoping to grow this event in the future. We want people to think of coming to Jacksonville when they think of Veterans Day weekend, kind of like they think of Southport for 4th of July festivities or the beach for Memorial Day. So that is our goal with this event.
The idea is play to your strengths. I mean, patriotism, we live among these heroes that tomorrow can be the front page hero in some place across the nation and out of the world. The 9/11 force and all that. So we want to play to that. And typically, obviously, after the Marine Corps birthday ball, there's, a different little atmosphere in our community and the hotels and things there. So we want to see how we can benefit from that for overnight stays and to drive that as a project as it was. So, Mr. Chairman, that's what we have sown from that part of the project. If you allow me, I'll just go right on into the other report real fast.
Okay.
And the last event
Let me just, before you do that, any questions on any of the information?
No, I want to compliment the staff on the work that they put in to get us to this point, so.
It's been a team effort.
Very well done.
We have a lot of partners.
Glenn?
So on the tourism promotion fund, that's the events and festivals things. And obviously the only one that we've had since the last meeting that you have has been the Marine Corps Half Marathon. It's been very popular. Obviously last year it had to be canceled because of Florence. And they gave placement holds to people who didn't want their money back. They just wanted to let it ride for the next year. There were only about 100 of those that actually came back. So they really kind of built this back up to 12-20 range there, which obviously has not been their high, but they're feeling very good about the numbers and that they promotion. You have to keep building on that, and people tend to come back year after year as it is.
I saw the Facebook post on that. It was a lot of people there.
It was a lot of people there. Ms. Tim will tell you that very much personally. We will say that
Tim
too.
run it?
No, but we walked a lot of it, I will tell you that. I was tired when I got home. Anyway, so this is what I think is interesting. These are the states, not just like I'm a military person and my home is California. These are states where people's addresses were that came to this as it was. That's really a fascinating reach of space there. Now, some of this has been the way in which this thing, you remember, is marketed in the large part is from they go to other runs and invite them to come. So you might have had somebody from California that was at a run in DC or at a run in some of these other places they have been to. The Charleston, they've really been heavy in that type of stuff. And consequently, it brings them back. Plus, we've used that pixel tracking to try to figure out when you're in a market where we are looking for someone similar to come here, we do a pixel track around that, a geofence. And so when you enter that way up, it gets you, and so we capture that information and target you for ads about the Marine Corps Half Marathon and the uniqueness of running shoulder to shoulder with America's front line. So that's what happens there.
That's an interesting map because South Carolina is not represented.
That's correct.
They need to get more athletic, it looks like.
Well, that or they didn't want to claim that as an address. I don't know. I mean, we'll just leave that like it is. But it's fascinating, man. But this is it. It was a big crowd out there. When we say that we walked some of it there and rode a lot of it, obviously we put out the Heroes Mile. And it's always an emotional moment when we're putting it up and hearing people talk to us. Kim and was at the place and got some folks that were playing golf out there and talked to her about it as it was. So I mean, we really hear the comments back when we're out there on the matter. And then of course the families that come out to support them, particularly in the housing areas. And this is something we'd like to build in a way, so it makes it even more. And then where else do you have Marines and Delta Blues putting a medal around your neck for having completed something that may well have been on your bucket list? That's the moment we're looking for, and that really brings it. And you see these people that run, this one honoring her son who had died, and she wanted to run the Marine Corps Half Marathon. I mean, this is powerful stuff that happens at that type of event, and is what helps us from this perspective. Here's the medal going around the neck. So, sir, the next events that we have, the New River Splash this weekend, and the Remembrance Run coming up October 12th. The Hero Mile will also be, it's actually not a Hero Mile at that point because it's all of the ones we have, so it exceeds that quite a bit. And then Oktoberfest, and then the Veterans Day weekend events that we're putting forward with that, sir.
Good job. Good job. Any questions? Lots going on. Okay, Sturgeon City update, Paula?
Thank you for having me. So I'm just gonna give you guys a brief update. Glenn obviously already mentioned a couple of things that I'll remind you of. But one of which is, try this one more time.
The slides are not showing up.
Okay, that's okay.
Sorry.
That's no problem. I was just making sure it wasn't me. But no, I had just included some more pictures. So again, we had the opening ceremony for our facility on June 26th. Thank you for those that were able to join us. I know many were not. Please feel free at any time to come down for a visit. You know, we're there Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We'd love to show you the facility, walk you around. We've been very busy since then. That was during our Sturgeon City Institute Week, where we had about 80 kids on site with that program, as well as running 3 age groups of our own summer camp program, which we continue to do throughout the summer. And I was just going to kind of give you a wrap up on that. We have 9 weeks of summer camp that we offer every summer. This year, with the addition of the new building, we were able to serve K through 8 the entire summer for the first time. And we also were able to greatly expand our field trip program offerings for other summer programs. So we had a lot of other summer camps coming to us for field trips, daycare facilities that came to us for field trips. We were doing a lot of outreach with those daycare facilities. So our rough numbers at this point are that we served, and this counts some other things that we did with adults as well, about 2,500 people just over the summer, this past summer, between our various events and things that we took part in. One very cool thing that I had thrown a picture in here of, which hopefully we'll be able to get, no problem, is that because we have a facility the size that we do, I'm not sure if any of you have ever heard of Watson the Whale, but he is something that UNCW travels around with. It came to Onslow County actually last summer, briefly through the library and some work that they did. But it's a life-size whale model that they basically have. Theirs is a little bit more advanced than ours, of course, and students can get inside. But we actually had our students use the similar model and actually make a life-size whale inside our facility this summer during one of our really hot weeks when it was hard to be outside. Looks like Glenn has maybe found my slides. But so that was just a really neat thing that we were able to do because we have the capacity and the students are actually able to, I'll backtrack slightly. This is a picture, our architect firm, Sawyer Sherwood & Associate, actually had a photographer of their own who came and did some things they of course use in their portfolio. This is one of the great shots I love that he got in one of the evenings, showing it lit from the inside. So again, just a nice view of the facility, a little bit of the site. And here's my brief slide. So you'll see up here in your upper right, there are students sitting in front of their whale. It's a little hard to gauge the scale without having been there in person, but that room is 120 feet long from end to end, and the whale went basically the entire length of that room. And they cut out, it's like painter's plastic almost, a little bit sturdier. They cut it out themselves completely, taped it all themselves in groups with the help of our educators. Again, ours was not quite fancy enough to get inside, but you just use a big industrial fan and basically inflate it with air. We've actually wrapped it back up and kept it in hopes of being able to maybe use it in future years, but that was a fun project for them. And then again, just a couple more photos of the things that we've been up to. Of course, another shot from our opening ceremonies that we had. And we've had several things going on. As I said, we've had a busy summer and start to fall. We were excited to have a professional development training at the beginning of July. We had over 20 educators from 8 different counties signed up for that program and participate with us. July 5th or 25th, was our first official rental, I guess you'd say, of the facility. We had a training for the Partnership for Children, and they're already signing up for some other events. We were also able to host some of the staff from Richlands High School in a smaller group training. So we're excited to work with a lot of our partner organizations and our schools, of course, that we always partner with. We hosted, or we had at our facility, the United Way campaign kickoff on September 11th. We had between 100 and 150 people out, for that event. So again, a great chance to partner with our local nonprofits and our community and provide the space for them. We hosted a science careers night. That's these 2 photos here. One is of our lovely Pat Donovan Brandenburg, our stormwater manager, talking to one of our local students. And actually Miss Pamela Trafton's also featured in that photo there with her son. And then on the bottom, we actually had Sylvan Heights Bird Park. We had 11 professionals come out that night from around several counties and be able to present to the students, middle school and high school students of the area. And we're hoping to make this an annual event and be able to do that, helping the students learn about potential science careers. And again, just networking with different folks in our communities and our region. And then September 21st was one of our first weekend events. There's a local group called Culture Click, and they had an adult prom in one room in our facility just this past weekend, and that was great. So we were excited to be able to have that event at our facility. Here's just a couple more photos. So the top 2 left and center there are from the United Way campaign kickoff. The bottom left is one of the table groups at the adult prom that we had this past weekend. And then on the right there on the bottom is another one from our science careers night. But again, being able to have that space with our science careers night, we opened the whole thing up. We had the tables around the outside. Again, each of these are opportunities for more people to see this facility, because it's been so much about word of mouth. And every event, somebody says how great the facility is. We're so excited to have this in Jacksonville. We just continue to get fantastic feedback. Our staff, I love my staff. My staff has been great and really been stepping up to take on the extra duties, but to make sure this center is running well. And of course, my board members and other folks that have been volunteering to help us out. A couple things that we've been doing a little more focused on tourism. You guys may remember Susan Dozier set up a visit by this gentleman. He's known as the Knox Road Tripper. He's out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And he did a couple different things, but we were featured both on his social media page and his website as part of his story about the Jacksonville community. Again, as many are, he was really impressed with the story of Sturgeon City and being able to be down there on that site and take a boat trip. So we're glad to be able to continue to be part of those efforts for the community. This weekend, as Glenn has already mentioned, a couple days from now is New River Splash, which of course we're excited to be a part of. We're partnering with Zing Zum back here to help host the Kids Zone for that event. So we'll have several different hands-on stations, of course a couple water quality focused items, but a bunch of fun things too, like slime and parachute and the general things kids like to do. And then we actually have several things coming up. As I mentioned, we've been busy with the facility. We're helping out mid-October with the reschedule. It's not actually officially their Diamonds in Denim event, but the reschedule of Diamonds in Denim for Onslow County Partnership for Children that they're planning for our facility. And then we've got several meetings we're going to be hosting into October and November. We've been partnering to bring in, there's a coastal stormwater group where they're going to be coming once a month to just do their internal review, and they want an off-site area to do that. It's a small group. And then some of the city staff helped put us in touch with the folks working on the NC Economic Development Strategic Plan. They're doing a regional forum here in Jacksonville, and we're lucky that we're going to be able to host that in our facility. Again, great chances to get to show off our center and Sturgeon City's site to folks from around the state that may not be familiar with what we do. And us being here in Jacksonville, we've got Taste of Oktoberfest coming up near the end of October. We've got the statewide stormwater meeting that they do annually. It's actually SWANC, they call it SWANK anyway, that Pat Donovan Brandenburg helped suggest us as a host for. So we'll be hosting that in November. And then of course, we'll be doing our little part to participate in the Veterans Day weekend events by having the Shriners Fall ceremonial events with us Friday, November 8th and Saturday, November 9th. And we've been working with the Final Touch Models folks to have their Fashion Week, their one-day event this year at our facility. So that's what's coming up through the end of this calendar year pretty much with us. And then again, we're already booking for 2020. We've got a couple folks, our local groups that have already booked with us and done events with us that are already booking their next events for next year with us. So that's the best, really the best possible review you can get, right, is return business. So we're very excited for that and just continuing to grow this. We're already planning, of course, for our Earth Day events for 2020. You might remember that this past year was our first year having our public festival event, and we're excited to be able to move that over into our new building and the area around our new building and expand that across our site for 2020. So hopefully look for some really cool things coming up with that for this coming year. And that's thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, great job. Any questions?
I have a comment.
Okay.
For years in this community, we've heard that there wasn't a venue to have events, and meetings, and everything. Well, guess what? Through the hard work of some of the folks around this table and previous mayors and councils, we've done a great job. We've done a great job. So this is just a reward, I think, for the hard work that a lot of people put in. And it's just, I'm really proud that I'm associated with. I'm really proud that Jacksonville has done this. Fantastic. Good job, well done.
Directors, any comments? Thank you. Paula, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great update. Sports Commission,
They're out setting up for New River Splash. So
Okay,
they
so
asked if
they're-
we would
okay.
share with you the report. So we put their report in your document there and the things they're working on. And they would really appreciate if you read that on page 21. But we'll just reuse their time to talk about the New River Splash. Obviously, Paula has given a lot of the points of it is. I'll tell you that the races start at 7:30 on Saturday morning. They're having the swim, bike, run, triathlon down there. And it's going to be the first time that we know there's an organized swim competition in the New River.
where is that gonna be?
That's down at where basically the Riverwalk
The
Marina.
docks? Okay, so they'll head out from there and,
So it's at the end of LP Willingham Park and the marina area
Okay.
there, where they're going to
so
swim.
people can go there to view.
Oh, yes, yes you can. And of course, they're gonna have lots of other activities during this thing here, and the goat yoga is, I'll be interested to see that. These are not little goats, these are big goats.
We talked about that this morning, I still,
They could, I kind of think they just
Thank
stand
you.
there.
I
Did you
don't
yoga
know
crowd?
what the deal is. Anyway,
Lorette?
It's popular.
yeah, Laurette, you gotta top the goat yoga.
Oh, wow. Okay, then I'll skip down in Donna's notes. She apologizes that she couldn't be here today. But no, a couple things that we've had going on the county side for countywide tourism. Glenn mentioned the Carolina Heritage Guide. We're getting good traction on that. Jacksonville is on the cover of that booklet, and there's a nice article on the gardens. And we're already working with the editor to have some additional in the 2020 edition of that on Oslo County. Donna went to the Visit NC In-State Media Mission in Raleigh on September 9th. She, along with Susan, I couldn't imagine those two paired together. So as
Susan
you-
Dozier.
Dynamic force.
Yes, Susan Dozier. So they got to talk to 28 different media outlets, and they talked to journalists, bloggers, social media influencers, and they said that they got some real strong engagement and interest in their various story pitches. So they're, both kind of keeping their fingers crossed to see what comes from those.
So two introverts together, what are they talking about?
My report was that they worked very well off each other, and Glenn told me the same thing. Donna just got back. She is still a big believer in the North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina Motor Coach Association. They met in Winston-Salem, and she said this is the second year that she's been with that, and what we do, we promote for these tours to come and visit Onslow County and Duplin County to give them a longer spread. So she just got back from that. The I-95 Visitor Center is currently closed for renovations, and it's going to be opening up in the spring. So they're taking advantage of this downtime, and 3 of their staffers are going around and visiting various places in eastern North Carolina, and we should have them here in Onslow County late October. We've got a press trip scheduled for the 22nd through the 25th. Again, just like Jacksonville TDA is doing, stressing the great outdoors. One that we've just got confirmation on, we've been working with getting a 3-day tattoo and food war conference marketplace to come to Onslow County. It is secured. It's going to be in Swansboro at the Rotary Civic Center in October of 2020. There should be about 60 artists from all over the state that will be participating in this conference. They had one recently in Bristol, Tennessee. It drew more than 1,500 people per day and was about 200 room nights. Now, the food portion of this conference has been shown on the Food Network. The food war portion, they're going to be here sometime in October, and they're going to start doing site visits at various restaurants in Onslow County. And what they're thinking at this point, that it's going to be a burger war. So I think that's going to have a lot of things. So we are really looking forward to that for October of 2020.
A couple of things going on with our state magazine. We continue to have great relationships with them. They're gonna do a feature on marsh cruises in the January 2020 issue. So we're very excited about that. They've already been here to do the photography. The writer will be here in October. We're hoping to get another story at the end of 2020 in the December issue. And we're working very hard right now to help identify folks that will fit in their June 2020 issue. And they're doing coastal comeback stories. So that's going to be a whole feature in our state magazine for June. So we're working with them to help identify some of those great success stories that we can tell. So that's what Donna's been doing for the last month, and I've just kind of waved at her in the hall when she went by. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Lorette, you may or may not know, do you know where they happen to host that event in Bristol, Tennessee?
I do not. I'm sorry,
Okay.
but I can certainly find out.
Okay.
Oh, that's right, your stomping grounds.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you for the update. Administrative matters, collections, Gail, is that you or the?
She's so extroverted, we actually have to fight for her to get time in front of her. Anyway, to the point there, obviously, it's up. This is for the first 2 months of this calendar, of this fiscal year. To see that the number is just even for collections is up at that. And then look at the online numbers. That has really been a significant increase there. We took in about 30,000 last year. I think that's the right number, isn't it, in total for online? Yes. We only took in 30,000 last year in online. And we're a third of the way there with 2 months. So, that's an interesting thing. This is what the collection thing looks like when you do it in the fiscal year with the 12 months laid out like that. We thought it might be interesting to do the rolling 12 months. Obviously, we all know what happened in October after September as it was there. So this lets you see, whereas the orange is the previous 12 months and the most recent 12 months, which includes still within it the October of 2018 in it there. So you basically are looking at it from August of 2018 back to September of 2017 in this view, in the orange. So you can see that we are above where we were a year ago, clearly, and we've got some areas that we can work within that to move forward as it is too. This is the collections to date, far above for the same period each of the fiscal years, including our previous record year in FY11, and that's what we have to show you, sir.
Thank you, Glenn. Any questions? Good report. Do you want to do our one city moment?
Well, we do, and we kind of cheat because we're going to reuse our friends at the Heroes Mile. I mean, it truly was emotional to see people stop, do things, look at their names they put on their shirts, I run for, and things such as this. The people who salute, and those that, really get choked up from being out there at that time. It's an emotional period of moments that are there. We have always sensed, and we appreciate you letting us do this as part of it. This is one of the activities the staff goes and puts this stuff out and handles this as it was there, and it's a moving tribute to those who have given the ultimate sacrifice in the war on terror and subsequent time.
Good work. Good work. Directors, do we have any closing comments? Anybody? Glenn, thank you and the staff and everyone that is here with us today to take time out to be with us today. It's great work. Hopefully we'll continue. We've got lots of events. If you have the opportunity to stop by and have a view, please do so. And we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting, which is scheduled for November 21st, same time. Okay? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.